If they do pick Gangplank, I can tell you we'll pick Renekton. That's the only thing I'll give away because he likes the matchup a lot.
Well, I am most certainly ready for that, as we are ready for Champion Select at the same time. You can see already Cassiopeia has been banned away, followed by the Sivir on the side of Albus NoX, and that is the Bard being taken away from Liquid.
Yeah, not surprised to see the Bard gone, although Ejim is a fairly good Bard player. They just don't want to be held down in the 2v2. I do expect the Chiefs to want to play a little bit more disengaged in that regard again.
Yeah. And you can see actually the Chiefs banning away the Shen here at the same time, respecting that as a possible first pick for Smurf. Of course, Swiper probably would have liked to play it if he could get his hands on it. But Albus NoX having that blue side, having that pick advantage. We'll see what it is going to be as far as prioritization, as Na is going to be banned on the blue side here for Albus. And that is an interesting ban, because I would have thought that Smurf would want to snap that one up, but a different idea in mind.
Yeah, potentially looking for a Gangplank first pick.
Or Talia as well, yeah.
So now the hard choice comes through. Do you ban them both or leave one up? They ban the Gangplank.
Yeah, Gangplank is going to go. Jhin was left up at the same time, and that is going to be the immediate first pick.
Ooh, really disagree with that. Raze likes Jhin, don't get me wrong, but he also has a really deep champion pool, and Lucian range support has historically done incredibly well versus Jhin, and Raze is a really good Lucian player. I also think just taking Talia away from Mr. Swiffer in the mid lane would have been a good move, but we'll see whether they even first pick it.
Yeah. Oh, it seems like nothing changes no matter where you are, as Swiper is going to do his classic Tryndamere Alawi hovers. We'll see whether Spooks hops on the Amumu just for a moment before we get into this one, but the Chiefs still looking comfortable by the looks of things. And what do you think the sort of second round picks here should be here for the Chiefs?
Well, yeah,
that looks about right.
I was going to say Gragas and Talia, but, Rek'Sai Talia is pretty much the exact same thing. Great gang potential, 2 semi-global ultimates already coming out of the composition. And we said this already, they're going to want to play towards the side lanes, which is why I don't necessarily agree with the Jhin, just because, he's very easily ganked underneath his turret, only has 4 bullets to be able to repel. Doesn't necessarily have the greatest wave clear to the earliest stages of the game. So I do think that the Chiefs, historically, they've always played to side lanes. Used to be, get Twisted Fate, camp top lane. All of a sudden, Talia back in the meta, they've been able to do that with bottom lane a little bit more. And we'll see whether Albus NoX have a plan to be able to counter that.
Yeah, do you think something like Tahm Kench would be a good opportunity to try and at least keep Jhin a bit safer?
Yeah, it certainly would be. I mean, Tahm Kench, we keep talking about, is a really good support. They're probably going to have to pick up Braum here out of the Chiefs to be able to stop the Gragas engage. They historically play it a lot against Gragas. I mean, Legacy are a great Gragas team as well, so this is not something that they're unfamiliar with. Echo Gragas at the same time, however, is a great brawling comp. Throughout the mid game, they do a lot of damage for people that build mainly tanky, and both have percentage health. So, Albus NoX still have the potential to be able to go up against the Chiefs at this stage.
Yeah, and a frightening 2v2 towards the top side of the map as well, with Echo Gragas versus, Rek'Sai, whatever Swipe is going to bring out. It's just a lot of chain CC, as Raze looking to take away the Caitlyn one more time, as Karma's been picked up. That is going to go into the hands of Ejim, and that bottom lane already just looks disgusting. Would never want to lane 2v2 against that.
Well, you have to lane 2v2 on the current patch atlas, so you have absolutely no choice.
Oh, here's how you do it.
But yeah, honestly, Caitlyn Karma has fantastic range and is going to be able to get on around the map. It also has really good siege potential, but it is going to be the brand locked in.
Yeah, brand picked up. That's going to be the support option for Liquid. We all saw, well, a lot of us saw what Albus NoX were able to do against Vega Squadron with that champion in game number 3 of their finals run.
It is an incredibly brave pick, however, because you are pretty much running 2 hybrid tanks. I mean, Gragas doesn't go Cinderhold technically, and Trinity Force is picked up generally as a first item for Echo. So they've got like a bruiser-ish comp, and it's very magic damage heavy. So, if something like Maokai comes out and is built pure tank, they're going to be able to sustain through a lot of that. Maokai Rek'Sai could really ruin the day of this comp, I feel, with some hard engage. And as we said, Swiper does like to play pure tanks. And it's not necessarily the worst matchup either. You get shoved in early, but there should be relatively low kill threat on that.
Yeah, I actually do quite like it with the bridging tools that they have as well, given the fact that Maokai and Caitlyn will be so disruptive in the late game. And they are going to lock that one away. Fantastic fantastic prediction, Spawn.
Yeah,
he's
I know
on
this
the
team
ball
quite well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so at the end of the day, like there is some great engaged tools here for the Chiefs. Great deep flanking potential. And I'm just looking back towards that bottom lane. And, Brand is all about hitting the 3 chain spells now.
Yes.
All of his damage, pretty much like 40% of his damage is just purely in his passive. That thing does ridiculous damage if you're able to chain it. But in saying that, untargetable, being able to get around really quickly with this Karma and this Caitlyn, do feel like they're going to be shoved in a little bit early. And then if the teleport players, the Taliyah players can come out, will make their life a little bit miserable. As I said, don't expect much mid lane action out of this. A lot of shoving between Kira and Swiffer, but then playing to those side lanes is where the Chiefs are going to look to thrive.
Yeah, and this most certainly will be largely the focal point as far as 1-versus-1 matchups are concerned, because Kira has been the superstar of this team, and Swiffer, although yes, he wasn't at IWCA, has always been a linchpin of the Chiefs, and we'll see whether he's going to be able to play out this 1v1, because Vlad versus Talia is something that has gone in Talia's favor in the past.
Yeah, it does. Early shove is in Talia's favor, and then you're able to roam much more effectively. One thing Kira is really well known for is his wave control. That's why he can play things like the Anivia and Vladimir. As we said, he's known for both of them and scale up to the late game without being punished all that hard. So Swiffer needs to make sure that when he does shove, Kira is not holding, because if he does, there's a potential for Swiffer to lose out on a lot of CS. And as I said, Kira, he's a fantastic Vlad player. Cannot put anything past this guy. And I like CIS's comp as well. Jin Gragas is such good initiation tools. They can fight whenever they want.
Yeah, most certainly can. And we're onto the Rift here for game number 2 of the IWCQ. As Swiper moving up towards the top side of the map will be, of course, a standard start. And we'll see where our junglers are going to start as well, or whether any deep vision is going to go down.
Yeah, generally we haven't seen that many invades, towards the earlier stage of the game. It has just been pretty much standard lanes. So we'll see whether the Chiefs go for anything cheeky. Looks like they might want to.
Well, at the moment, at least grouping up as 3 members. Ray's, of course, taking a little bit of damage from something. I think A Miracle may have just grenaded him to the face. As it's another Storm Raiders Surge Vladimir.
It is.
Looks like my tactics are creeping into the IWCQ.
You don't know if they have flat penetration or 45% cooldown reduction.
Yeah, no, they probably do have the flat penetration.
Yeah.
Never mind, there was a relatively cooldown reduction focused build coming out last time we saw it.
Vlad's always going to build cooldown. Regardless.
All of his items just happen to have it.
Incidental. Very quiet on Summoner's Rift Atlas.
As he tries to change the subject. It was okay. It's probably a good idea, as the Gromp is going to be started by Smurf and
I feel like
Steos.
So one thing I will say, this is in defense of Oceania right now. We have about 18 million people
asleep.
And most of them are asleep, is what I was going to go with. I think last time I checked, the Commonwealth Independent States were much bigger than the Oceanic community.
If we could have that in percentage, that would be good.
Yeah, exactly. That's all I'm saying. But as I said, they should still be favourites. I definitely agree that the fan vote, whilst the percentage is a little bit skewed, is there. And Kira actually, being shoved off quite early.
Yeah, of course, Talia generally wants to be smacking minions pretty early on, but good news story for Swiffer. Kira gets back in. Some cheeky auto attacks there. You can see the bottom lane. Just both shoving each other back through, and there's a lot of lane dominance available here in mid and bottom lane. So who's going to get the better of it?
The push is always going to be in favor of Caitlyn. She has more than 4 bullets, so that's the way it's going to work out for this stage of the game. Really, it's about not getting caught in Le Crit and just getting exploded. This is really nice from Smurf. The lane's going to reverse. There is a dive potential being set up right now on the top side of the map. They know Spooks is on the bottom side, and it has only been a half clear out of the Gragas. So he is going to head top. Swiper needs to get the heck out of dodge.
Yeah, he's going to walk over that ward here, as well as Swiper now looking to try and get himself back out, but PvP Steos not quite in the right position. Smurf turns around once again. Good early ward. Yeah,
really nice job. They're out of PvP Steos, however, putting down some early pressure. And you can see that mid lane, Vladimir is actually winning the shove, which is not a good news story for Taliyah. As I said, she should win the shoving matchup in this. Spooks, however, goes for a deep invade. Steos.
Wow, actually, Spooks, of course, immediately seeing the fact that Steos was towards the top side. He is going to take away his Raptor campers. Now Spook steals away the red, but Kira is going to get over here. E-Jim's there as well as Swiffer turns up. A big fight breaking out here as PvP Staos flashes out of the way. Spooks flashes as well. Look at the brand damage. Fantastic shove comes in, but it is going to be the burn as the brand falls down. Raze grabs the Gragas on the backside as he's the flanking Caitlyn right now, but will get destroyed for it. A Miracle's going to flash. That is all going wrong for the Chiefs as Kira's going to get over the side. E-Jim's looking for something, but it's a double kill for the Vlad. 4-1 start here for Albus NoX Luna, and it's a disaster for the Chiefs.
Absolutely disastrous. You see Spook scratching his head. I mean, he went for the deep invade, but they stood on his tunnel, means he couldn't get out. Stehos, just very good awareness as a jungler to recognize he was being invaded upon before he finished off the Raptor camp. The Chiefs went one by one, Atlas. It was just marching in one at a time, and Albus NoX decimate them in response.
Yeah, just so much AoE damage. The brand needs a shout out there as well. Licrit being able to pick up that first blood, goes back, gets his Frostfang.
Let's have another look at it. So Kira standing on that tunnel is a big first thing. Means that Ejim has to flash away, and they don't get the kill here onto Kira. Kira runs away, is able to get a heal, and then a huge rush and get out. Raze does get a return kill, but from here they should be looking to disengage, not get back into fight. I mean, have a look at how low Swiffer already was. Kira had cut off that path, and they had one option, run down. Ejim, as well as Raze, probably could have lived, but they chose to continue the fight, and they get made to pay massively.
They most certainly did. 1,400 gold is going to be the lead, as Licrit's got double buffs on the bottom side of the map. All the spells, all the time. And I mean, he's a brand. You'd think his auto attacks should burn a little, but now they're certainly going to with the red buff.
Yeah, certainly. Once again, there should still be shoving advantage, although Spooks is being kicked out of the jungle one more time by Kira. They're doing a very good job of tracking the Oceanic jungler. But, scaling's still there out of the Chiefs. They just need to get a little bit of a, deep breath, calm going, because when you're playing with Caitlyn, when you're playing with Maokai, you generally don't go for those plays that early in the game.
Maybe a little bit of chilling out necessary. As Raze still able to shove, still able to get his auto attacks down. Swipe is going to go back to base. Couple of CS in the lead, but of course Smurf got the back in a little bit earlier on.
Yeah, that's a really early even top lane. I mean, it's not really going in either favor right now.
Yeah.
It's really the rest of the map that is a little bit out of control, very heavily in Albus NoX's favor.
Spook's actually not able to finish off the Tiamat on his first back, but looks like he's going towards it now. Swiffer, not quite level 6 just yet, but of course only gets the Weaver's Wall. Doesn't have any more combat effectiveness, as Kira seems pretty comfortable in this mid lane.
Yeah, it depends what you call combat effectiveness. I mean, being able to cut off a bottom lane, pretty combat good.
Oh, more in the 1v1,
yeah,
I guess.
In the 1v1, definitely agree with you. Doesn't do damage. But wow, Ejim and Raze are really getting bullied by Licrit here in the bottom lane.
Yeah. Brand grabbing a couple of kills. He's a very, very scary prospect. It's now Swiper. You can see just dealing with Smurf as best he can.
That's really all this lane comes down to. Swiper being able to shove out, look for teleport players. Smurf trying to wave clear. When he gets towards Trinity Force, he's going to have kill threat in the 1v1. So good news stories here. Licrit's actually gone back, so Miracle needs to be careful. Gives due respect. And this is how the Chiefs should have been playing early game. I mean, very good, calm play coming out of Albus NoX right now. They understand that they have a good scaling comp themselves, that they have the ways to initiate and get Kira onto the back line. So, don't make any rash decisions this early in the game. Just be nice and calm and play this one out.
Well, Chiefs are going to be able to clear out a pink ward. Should be immediately replaced here by Licrit, who shoves his one down. And there's the Mantrid Q to come out from Ejim. Does nail Miracle for a bit of damage as Spooks is spending some time here towards the bottom side. We'll see whether he actually decides to try for a gank or whether the Chiefs are just on full scale mode, try and get themselves into a better position.
They 100% should be in full scale mode right now, Atlas. Being able to regain some control over the river is a good thing. But we keep mentioning it. I'm just going to go back to it. Licrit's going to top damage this game. I can pretty much guarantee, win or loss, that he has got this one covered. As now they're going for another engage onto Stehos. Don't think that's the right move, so they do back away.
No flash is going to be burnt here by Spooks, but does save his pink ward as Swiffer throws down a Q. Kira, Thunderlord's proc comes in as the barrel's going to find Spooks. Just love taps from everyone here as Licorice doesn't find the Q.
Oh, dancing grenade.
Very, very high damage. As Kira is going to get the solo kill onto Swiffer in the mid lane.
Yeah, and this is what happens when a snowballed Vladimir is played by a master. I mean, we said last game that Vladimir should have been able to take over Summoner's Rift. This time, Kira gets the 2 early kills in a jungle skirmish, and Raze, you're in trouble.
Yeah, Curtain Call comes down. The Ignites there as Ejim's trying to tank this, but if he gets all of the bullets, he is going to die. Oh my goodness, good heal from Raze. Saves his support.
Yeah, it certainly does, but all of a sudden, bottom lane under siege. It is 9 minutes in. They have wave clear available. Spooks has come across to try and help out. However, they're just probably going to be forced off on this one.
Yeah.
Ulti's still available for the brand, and there's only 2 members sitting underneath the turret.
Yep, Ward is going to come in there as PvP Steos takes a Prey Seeker. And he's looking for it. Finds a body slam onto Spooks as he gets stunned up. Look at all of the damage, and they just chain it all together. Beautiful stuff
and the
from the CIS team.
In goes Swiffer.
Yeah, actually jumps on top of his wall. Has to flash over the top of it at the same time as A-Miracle's just going to launch himself over. Easily picks up that kill.
And as I said, on paper, this looked very one-sided, and the Chiefs are proving that to be. So bad early game decision-making has really come back to bite the team. And Albus NoX just look incredibly coordinated across the board.
They just look like a fantastic team right now as they're trying to take down this dragon. Spooks is going to get himself over. Kira will have to use the pull as Spooks doesn't get the knock-up. Another slow comes in. Still has it if he burrows himself down. Good knock-up as PvP Steos looking for it. Will they actually overextend as Kira? The Transfuse is just so busted.
Yeah, just able to kite them out. And you know the Chiefs, they have to start taking these risks. They were chasing very deep into enemy territory. They knew that Stehos was low. But Kira does the right thing. He backs away. Didn't have to burn all that much. As Spooks going over aggressive again, this time stunned up.
Yeah, doesn't get the smite. I don't actually believe he had it at that particular point. But Stehos is going to go back home. Spooks knows that he's there. Preyseeker's going to stop the back. And Kira actually taking a fair bit of damage here from Swiffer at the moment. Almost has the Nomiconers. Let's have a look at this 1v1.
So he just goes on top of him. He's going to come out with a flash. I mean, Swiffer technically could have matched the flash there and got out of range, but probably still would have been chased down. And Vladimir, just when he gets those 2 early kills, is going to be able to do things like that.
Yeah, now Swiffer sitting on 0-3-1. Will have to do his best Tokka's impression, I believe. You know, it's a very difficult start to this game. We'll see whether he can triage the situation. Will still be able to shove waves. We'll see whether that's going to be enough.
But it doesn't just look to be the case. I mean, all across the board, the Chiefs are losing massively in CS. So you can say, you know, shoved waves, but if you're not getting that pushing potential, stun comes out one more time, passive, and that's not the right button. Ejim. That's a lot of tilt coming out now.
Yeah.
Chiefs honestly look flustered.
They certainly do. Of course, only towards the top side of the map is anything really going to change. There's Swiper sitting on an island himself. You can see once again, Albus NoX Luna heading here towards the bottom side. And this tower should fall down with this push. That'll be first structure bonus. And that'll be approximately a 5,000 gold lead here at 12 minutes in. It's a big snowball beginning for this Albus NoX Luna team. And Swiper taking some aggression here from Smurf, but he's very tanky with his Balmy Cinder.
Yeah, he certainly is. I mean, Swiper is probably the one player that has stood up relatively well. I'm surprised the Chiefs didn't do this earlier and just try and get into his lane, make him a super tank. Because everywhere else on the map, Atlas, is an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
I mean, they're now trying to steal away a blue buff. And this is what the Chiefs normally do well. Wait for the proactive play out of the other team. Punish cross-map. I mean, don't go for the greedy plays yourself. Really was a massive hiccup in the early game. And it means that they've lost out on all the bottom lane priority. Mid lane priority was gone the time that Vladimir got 2 kills. And there's really nowhere left for them to play towards if they can't kill Echo.
And at the moment, Echo is actually pressuring this top tower. Already down to half health. As Swiper hasn't teleported.
They're doing the perfect thing. I mean, they haven't seen Spooks in a long time. They know that his red buff was up, so he's playing top side of the jungle. So all of a sudden, you know, Smurf doesn't sit there and auto-attack the turret. He just backs away. If he's on wave clear duty, he's scaling up nicely. They're swapping the duo lane into the top side of the map. They've already got the push advantage. So this should mean that they can lay siege to that turret. We've already seen that the 2v2 goes heavily in Albus NoX Luna's favor. So honestly, right now, they're playing this one out pretty textbook. It's hard to win a game before 25 minutes on the current patch, but they're on track to be able to do so.
Well, 4,000 gold is currently the lead. Ejim has paired up with Swiper. You can see Spooks is on the bottom side of the map, heading back to base, as now Ejim dodges out of the way of the stun. That was so close.
Yeah, that was actually some nice happy feet, but he uses the empowered Q to try and tag up Lecrit, which means all the wave clear is gone. And once again, the power of Brand is that he can just sit there and ulti you. If there's only two of you, he's guaranteed the bounces, and it means he's going to be able to get all of that massive damage down. So you can see that in the end, they can't actually stick with their wave assignments. They have to send Swiffer back into the mid lane, where he's just being bullied over and over again by Kira.
Yeah, fair bit of damage does go down. Gets the pull out of the Vladimir, and that is going to allow Swiffer to at least make it to the minion wave. But
so that's better out of the Talia. That's how the matchup should go. If Kira does push up, he should get punished. Although that's a massive whiff. Kira still has to burn the Ghost to get away. And honestly, right now, they just look like they're not worried about the Chiefs at all. Although Smurf
probably should be, as Weaver's Wall is going to be dodged out of. Knockup comes in, and it's going to be Spooks locking down the kill. Nicely done. Chiefs on the board with a second kill.
And this is what they said. Maybe they can still pick on Smurf's lane. It's the last one left. They're going to bleed objectives across map if they do so. I think that was fairly obvious. However, being able to pick up a kill.
Yeah, Ray's in trouble as Ejim gets himself over to the side. Big damage from the curtain call. Swiper comes in. Ejim grabs the kill. Now Ray's looking to try and follow up with more as A Miracle. Swiper looking for the twisted advance. Takes a lot of damage, but thankfully he's a big old tank and had a few extra items. Spooks now moving himself towards
Kira's
the bottom.
diving Swiffer again. Completely zoned him away from the mid lane. Both flashes have been used. Ray's, you're in trouble. You have to get the heck out of dodge. And the Chiefs, even though they win a couple of little skirmishes, they're just getting destroyed.
That was ridiculous damage out of Kira. He only has an amp tome for damage at the same time. As Vladimir really getting into a good position now at level 11. And Spooks now just trying to clear out this minion wave, and he will actually be in trouble.
He'll be able to clear it out. So at the end of the day, you know, good proactive play on the bottom side of the map out of Chiefs. They use a couple of their globals to be able to pick it up. Teleport top lane means they pick up another kill, so able to pick up two. But the fact that Vladimir is just soloing the Talia with ease in what is supposed to be a counter pick matchup, you know, two early kills will turn most games on its head for a mid laner. But 50 CS as well as 2 solo kills now is going a bit extreme.
Yeah. And of course, this is just credit to Kira. This guy has always been a pretty incredible player. There's a reason why he won the 1v1 tournament in IWCA. It's because in a 1v1 situation, it's pretty damn strong. Let's have a look at this again.
Yeah, so one more time, they go incredibly aggressive. Curtain call opens up, so the teleport comes in. Stehos, unfortunately, doesn't have anything to follow up after that. Does get chunked down by Ejim, but this is what we're talking about. You just can't walk at a Brand, mate. That's half of your health done by Brand before the Jins even auto-attacks you with a crit. So Swiper needs to start respecting that. You can see early itemization into some magic resistance, and that's really the last hope. Get Swiper, Rek'Sai, the Maokai and Rek'Sai, combo huge with a lot of magic resistance, and then just dive Miracle over and over again, because everyone else is purely magic based off the ANX lineup. But right now, it just doesn't look like the game's ever going to get to that point because Vladimir is running over the top of them.
Yeah, Ejim is going to at least slow down PvP Stehos for the moment. Licrit, though, just free to do damage. Already half health on Spooks, who's burning down. You can see the big explosion from that Brand passive.
I can't wait to see damage dealt. This is hilarious. I mean, so much of Brand's damage is built into his passive, and it's just supposed to be too dangerous to run him as support because he's incredibly squishy at the start of the game. But they just over so many kills that it didn't matter. He could have had like 200 health. He still would have won that team fight.
Yep.
And now it just means that they have control over the whole map because the duo lane is so much more potent.
And ANX are going to take an 18-minute Rift Herald here as well.
Kira's now behind Swiper.
Thankfully, it goes into the brush. Survives for the moment, hides behind some creeps to avoid the tides of blood.
And I mean, if Maokai is able to do this, I don't really see an excuse for why Talia wasn't able to, because this is how the matchup should have gone. Now they've swapped Talia versus Echo, which if anything should be even harder for Talia to live through, because Echo's chase potential is phenomenal. And he's already finished up that Trinity Force. So we'll see whether Swiffer is able to live.
Well, at the moment, just standing out of the way entirely. And Smurf heading back to base. We'll see whether they're looking to try and make a play as, yeah, Kira's actually got his Rylai's Crystal Scepter done. So we're talking about chase potential for Echo. I feel like Vladimir's got it as well now.
Yep.
Frightening prospect.
Hasn't gone Dash Cannon, has just gone Rylai's. That's a luxury build if I've ever seen one. Generally, it's about getting, one big combo on the back line with the Proto Belt.
Yeah.
Instead, this one's going to be much more about persistent chase damage, as you mentioned. I would say that, Spooks and Swiper have actually done a relatively good job of keeping equal with their counterpart. In fact, Spooks is up 600 gold over PvP Stehos in a game where his team is down 5,000 gold at 19 minutes. I mean, that's actually pretty impressive out of the jungle of the Chiefs. Now looking for a play in mid lane. As a wall comes across, Stehos trying to solo the dragon out.
Yeah, not actually able to get anyone on the right side.
No, they did. Miracle flashed.
Keep anyone on
Say
the right
what
side.
I will. Swift is having a bad game. However, that would be all kinds of a horrible game if you couldn't land that ultimate. So Miracle did have to flash over that wave as well. So at least getting that out of the AD carry means that, once again, very low mobility duo lane sitting in the mid. Maybe a repeat game can come out. Difficulty is there's also the chance that you could jump off the wave as well and Lacrit just one-shot you. So
yeah, which is just a weird sentence, given the fact that he's the support. But this brand situation is one that needs respect.
Certainly is, and I feel like the Chiefs missed a trick here because he did show his hand in the final. Obviously wanted to keep the pick for IWC, but was willing to pick it up in the final, and it won them the game. So I think that is not disrespectful, but, just a little bit of lack of homework done from the Chiefs.
And actually, you can see that CS team just hanging out underneath the inner turret on the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, and that's what you're supposed to do. I mean, Stehos steals away the wolf, but Spooks had already smitten it. Smote it? Smote. Yeah, smote it.
Smote.
They're just rotating between their two strong sides of the map. Smurf is the only one that kind of fell behind early game. He's still 30 CS up. But all the CIS region really has to do now, all ANX really has to do is bounce between mid and bottom lane and be able to chunk out this turret slowly, because eventually they will fall down, and when they do, the Chiefs aren't going to have an answer for it.
Well, there's the explosive cast as well. They look for PvP Stehos, but look at Kira on the back line. Massive Hemoplague damage. Tali is going to fall down incidentally, and A-Miracle's able to grab Spooks at the front end. Smurf just right underneath the inner turret. Has now ANX just gone completely ballistic. It's only the tree alive here in this particular situation. Caitlyn got herself out early, but the Chiefs just don't look like they have any answers.
They don't. I mean, they're just too far behind at this stage of the game. 7,000 gold at 20 minutes, and now it's going to be transitioned into a Baron. It's just way too much. I mean, they do have okay Baron damage. I still think this is a risky play. Kira's going to be able to take it out. Actually, they have a lot. I keep forgetting about this stupid brand. So Brand are going to be able to chunk it out, unless Sapling goes massive here, which it does not.
That would be the dream.
That's going to be a 21-minute Baron for ANX, and as well as a 10,000 gold lead. This is as one-sided as it comes. On this path, Atlas, we might be in for a shellacking.
Oh my goodness,
Chiefs.
No! The shellacking. One of my favorite words, but this particular moment, my national pride is being hurt.
That's all right. I'm just going to blame the Kiwi. Not really, right? He's having a good performance. He's equal on CS. He's 1-1-1. Had to exit stage left very hard that last team fight as Kira ran for him. Incidentally killed two other members on his way. But was certainly diving for the Caitlyn quite hard, who has gone, Infinity Edge first. So the damage is going to be there. Keep saying this, but the Chiefs, they've got a good scaling comp. All they really have to do is hope that a turret dive or something goes horribly wrong.
The issue is they've got a Gragas. I just feel like they can orchestrate any of these dives, any of these situations how they want to.
Yeah, and I just, go back to it. Really strong laning phases picked out of ANX. As another alley-oop comes in. Spooks, you're in trouble.
Yeah, there's the pick, and A-Miracle's just going to pick that one up. Seismic shove onto PvP Stehos, but he's so tanky. Curtain Call comes in, and Swift is the target. Smurf takes down Raze, meanwhile, on the top side. As look at that damage, and the pick potential out of this squad. Licorice land and all of the Qs. And it's followed up by easy Ws out of A-Miracle.
Yeah, so in the end, this is going to be a pretty short order for them to just be able to stream into the base. 3 people are dead. Smurf's able to get the solo kill, as you mentioned. You can see Spooks. He's actually kind of confused what happened. He's probably going to have a chat to his team. He is a shot caller. maybe not just run into a jungle blind at the start of the game, but already Rylai's Crystal Scepter finished on the brand has just meant that this game is
oh my goodness,
a disaster.
Yep, Eye of the Watcher completed at the same time as well, so that was what he was turning that Frostfang into as Kira gets knocked back. Looks like he doesn't really care about it as Crimson Rush with a lot of healing available. Hemoplague's there, and you can see Dustblade or Drakthar, Hemoplague, whichever one's going to go off first, and it's going to be the Jhin grabbing the kill.
And flashing after already dead. I mean, honestly, for the Chiefs, this is one of the games that you just want to get the heck out of because they're a team that is emotional at the best of times, I'm going to use the word. And this is one of the games that it's a tilter. If you kick off a solo queue experience like this, you're not very happy. So I can't imagine kicking off what is supposed to be your campaign towards Worlds. In saying that, mad respect to the CIS team. They have outperformed the Chiefs pretty much across the board.
This is a class act, honestly, by this team. In comparison to what we've seen so far. Looking like a contender for that top spot.
Did come second against Supermassive at IWCQ. We knew they were going to be one of the favorites.
Yeah.
We thought maybe, the patch wasn't suiting them because they did stumble quite hard in the final, but that's not looking to be the case at all.
Of course, actually, if we remember back to IWCI, in the semifinals, Hard Random 3-0'd INTZ.
Yeah.
So
that was not the same INTZ. They had the same players. They were playing a very different tournament back then, I feel.
Yep. As we do have another kill towards the bottom side of the map, just to update you guys, as Swiper does fall down.
Yeah, that's a tank, by the way, so not great news, as now Spook's caught out. He's the other tank.
Yep, flashes out of the way, make sure he doesn't take too much damage, but look at that Pyroclasm. Licorice, allowing that one to bounce over everyone, and this inhibitor turret's going to fall down. That's going to be 3 inhibs.
And I said it's difficult to win a game by 25 minutes.
Kira, that's not your base. But it doesn't seem to matter.
Spooks is done with the game. He's going to go farm mid lane, and that's going to be
just incredible out of the CIS team. The Nexus is going to fall down pretty soon, but that's a 25-minute victory. And Albus NoX Luna, that is a debut to IWCQ, and I honestly feel like we may have almost underestimated or at least miscalculated who the favorite was moving in, because I'm in a shift. I'm shifting to Albus NoX Luna. That is where my vote's going. Easily #1 team.
He's like, can I take my headset off? Can I go shake their hands? The call was yes from the referee. I was just pointing out exactly what was happening on his screen there, as Licorice did a really good job. Of course, nice to see the support player given some love over, but yeah, I mean, we thought that I had them top 3, definitely. So
oh, yes.
I think that, we're right on the money around there. Are they as good as INTZ? I mean, that game dictates that, yeah, maybe they are, or we've very much underestimated the Latin American South lineup.
Yeah.
But that was an absolute massacre, Atlas. I mean,
are we going to go? Are we going to say it?
No, that was a shellacking. That was worse than a shellacking.
Oh, God.
I have not seen a affair that one-sided in a very long time.
Have not seen a shellacking to this level for quite some time. Just unbelievable. And you saw actually on your screen there just before, Swiffer and Kira having a bit of a hug, big smile on Kira's face. Didn't see Swiffer's.
And this was where it all went wrong. I mean, early invade, they go 1-for-1. It looks like it's going to be okay, but Licorice just puts out so much damage, and then a miracle. Like, what the heck? Just so much damage coming out. Kira had the other path cut off. And, when you're playing what is a scaling comp, you've got a Caitlyn. I mean, you've got yourself the Talia to get to that level 6 mark and play the sideways. I think that that's just a huge mistake. I mean, the reward is there if you make it work, but if it doesn't work, this happens.
Yeah. And of course, yeah, it was what you said in the early game as well, because Kira was completely unstoppable. But 2-0 Vladimir,
he tends to be like that.
Yeah. It's just incredibly frightening.
And you can see Swiffer's just put 2 full Qs into Vladimir, as well as a seismic shove across all of the pebbles, and he just has not blinked. I mean, he doesn't really care at that stage of the game. So as I said, I think that this is one of those games where the CIS team, they absolutely smashed them. They're going to take so much confidence out of that game. I mean, the Chiefs were probably going to be one of the teams that was pushing top 4. I mean, it's between them and probably the Saigon Jokers there, with the Turkish lineup, the Brazilian lineup, as well as the CIS lineup, probably coming in as the 3 favorites. But, when you have a look at the fact that they just made such a fundamental error early in the game by being able to trade 1 for 4. That's one of the games for the Chiefs. You just throw it out the window and you say, you know what, that game was lost at 5 minutes.
Yeah, there's no need to look at the draft or anything like that. It's not like we made any tactical decisions.
No, we just stuffed up.
Yeah.
Like, that is a fundamental thing. We fundamentally stuffed up what was our biggest play of the game. Happened to be 5 minutes in. We gave 2 kills to a Brand and 2 kills to a Vladimir. So we just lost 2 winning lanes in 1 invade, which is never a good feeling.
Yeah, as well as the fact that they were relying on that Caitlyn Karma lane to be able to shove in the Brandon Jhin. They wanted to make sure that they could just take control and win conditions out the window, and that's just definitely not what you want.
And that's what they had. They had a pushing mid lane, a pushing bottom lane, as well as 2 heavy roamers in the fact that, you know, you can teleport with Maokai, you can roam around with Talia. If we keep going back to it, there was just a heck of a lot of AP damage and a heck of a lot of scaling on Albus NoX Luna's composition.
Yeah.
And they got there so quickly that no MR items had been picked up. So, you know, they weren't going towards these 2nd, 3rd item Void Staffs that you would expect to see out of a composition that pretty much has 4 AP carries. Instead, they were going towards their Rylai's Crystal Scepter, their Control Mage items, and they just had complete control over that game.
Yeah, and of course, the game was so incredibly accelerated that barely even mattered having, like, just as long as you've got damage, you're basically fine in that department. So we'll see whether the Chiefs can actually just brush this one off. They don't play again today, which is probably good. They can reset themselves, try and sort it out, and CIS, on the other hand, they'll just be able to take this, move it forward, and see whether they can get that top spot, because honestly, they look dominating in that game, and if the Chiefs are correctly identified as a top 4 team, it bodes so incredibly well for this squad, and bodes fantastically well for Worlds, just in general for IWC.
Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, when you have a look at it, I mean, the Chiefs, they're going to be between the 4 and 7. That's where you expect them to be because, you know, Saigon, you don't know how strong they are. In fact, the meta is really crazy in the GPL right now, so we just can't gauge their strength. It's like literally watching 2 5v5 teams just fight each other over and over again. And then, you know, Rampage, no one has many expectations for this team because they're just so new to international play. And then the Chiefs. So out of those 3 teams, you're probably going to have 4 through 6. You know, now with KLG making a pretty good statement in their first game against the Brazilian lineup in what was a 35-ish minute loss. So I think that, you know, all we learned from that game is that the CIS team is pretty friggin' good and they're here to play.
Yeah, they most certainly are. The only other question mark, I guess, then would be the Turkish team, Dark Passage, having a couple of subs in there. You would assume that they'd be up top just because of what they did to Supermassive in the final, but is taking out 40% of the roster going to hurt them? I'd assume so, but to what degree is, I guess, the question.
I don't know. Raz has been telling me all day, you know, this Corey guy. I know a little bit about him, of course. Raz, former Dignitas coach, Corey, former Dignitas jungle. He has very high hopes for Corey in the IWC tournament. So, you know, from relegation to making Worlds is what I think Raz said. So we'll see whether it works out that way. But Dark Passage, yeah, as you said, removing 40% of any lineup, that's going to hurt you. But you trust in the organization, especially an organization as old as Dark Passage, to be able to get them in, get them boot camped relatively well. And, you know, if they're playing similar styles, it's not going to be that much of an adjustment for Dark Passage to take on the Rift. It's more individual onus on, you know, Corey to be able to step up in that situation, COSQ as well.
Yeah, exactly right. And we'll see whether they are going to be able to do that because, of course, it is now looking like things are heating up as far as the IWCQ. Already, the teams that we were expecting to take victories have done so, but they've painted some targets on themselves. And, of course, INTZ already being pretty outspoken. We heard Revolta say, we didn't need to show anything. We just played what was meta. Haven't actually picked up anything that we've been sort of practicing hard for to make sure that they can stay as loose as possible, not give anything away. And we'll see whether that's the same for CIS, because honestly, it felt like their picks were pretty damn meta at the same time, apart maybe from the brand. But, I mean, that's a Liquid champion. It's one that's always banned from the go.
Certainly is. I mean, and, you know, that's a little bit of a curveball. I actually... You know, when you think about Brand, if you can clear the wave, his siege potential is massive because it means his ultimate is guaranteed to hit champion. So I actually think Lacrit's onto something here. I don't think it's going to become a mainstay because if you don't get rolling in the early game, you can get very heavily ganked, and that's what the Chiefs were obviously playing for. But we saw that if it does get rolling, if you are that good Brand player, he was able to just throw out the ultimate underneath turrets and, you know, wait for the passive to come through and force people away. So I do think that there is something to the pick. I don't think that that is arrogance. I actually think it's quite smart, and I think that he showed that he played it incredibly well.
Yeah, I think it as well. It shows that the Chiefs weren't necessarily ready for it at the same time because, of course, early game damage, that's what Brand is all about. That is why, you know, he's able to be played in support so effectively. And AoE damage at the same time, I mean, that early level fight was honestly probably misjudged by the Oceanian team purely due to the fact that you just don't play against Brand.
Yeah, no, I just think that they, like, as I said, like, that is one of those juicy opportunities where you see the jungler topside, you want to go for your invade, you have 2 pushing waves, you should be able to rotate first, and then you just fumble on the execution. I mean, Spooks thought he could get out, then the call is, I can't get out, I have to fight, so all of a sudden, you know, you're in 2 minds about where you're exactly going, the comms aren't that clear, it's a first game of IWCQ, playing reactionary in that situation is much easier, and you saw that the CIS region was able to do that. They rotated nicely as a team. They stayed as a unit. And ultimately, the Chiefs fumbled the play. So I think that, you know, if you blow up Kira at the start, if he doesn't get the heal into the Crimson Rush, all of a sudden, different fight. There's no Vladimir to deal with. Then all of a sudden, you know, Lecrit, he had 0 mana, but managed to get out 2 full combos. I mean, there's just so many things that went wrong in that situation. I think that's where a lot of the game went down to. So they're just going to scrub that and have a look at it a couple of times.
Yeah, and we'll see whether, you know, they've given anything away, whether they're going to be asked that question as we have Hingers on side with a member of the CIS Regions team.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with mid laner from ANL, Kira. First of all, congratulations on the win. And second of all, I want to ask, that was a dominant performance. Did it go how you expected it to, or was it easier or harder?
Okay, we drafted all what we wanted, so it's like planned, especially our Brand. It's open, we take it, we win. So yeah, it's planned.
What were your expectations going into the game? Did you know much about your opponents?
It's not about opponents, it's about characters. So like Talia can roam easy, so we need to like pressure her, don't die. We played versus champs, we win.
Okay, so it's a very strong opening performance. How do you feel about the rest of the tournament? Do you think you guys can go all the way?
I think if we will get Brand banned, it will be not so easy. But if seriously, it wasn't so easy. Just because of that early fight, we won this game so quick. But if not this fight, it could be really 50-50 game, like for 50 minutes.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Well, thank you for that. And that's all from us. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you very much, Hingers. And he's just so modest. I mean, we've heard from Kira before, if you guys had watched IWCA last year, but understanding that it was all about that first fight and they didn't really learn so much and they've just got to play against the enemy champions.
Yeah, I also like the fact that, you know, he called out the Brand as well as a legitimate strategy. I mean, they obviously think that it's worth a ban. He's pretty much told every team now to ban it. I mean, he doesn't think that there's an answer out there for it. But he's right, you know, they got a strong draft. They got exactly what they wanted to play. Early fight swung it in their favor. I think the Chiefs could have had a good composition, if not. But at the end of the day, when it's just gifted to you like that and you get the comp you want, you're going to win the game early, and that's what they did.
You most certainly are, and it was a dominating victory as well. But ladies and gentlemen, there is more IWCQ action right after the break.